Suffice to say that episode 5 had another messed up match, but Korra managed to come through and win it solo, bringing the team together. And they're going to need it because their championship round will be against the Wolfbats, bringing us into episode 6. During their practice, Amon returns on the radio to demand that the Bending Championship final match be cancelled.
Or else there will be severe consequences.
There will be no Christmas.
The council plans to acquiesce despite Korra's plea, but Chief Lin Beifong shows up, insisting that they not give in to Amon, that she and her officers will ensure things are safe. They have metal armor that will make them immune to chi blocking, so they decide to go ahead with this.
Are you saying that you will personally take responsibility for the safety of the spectators in the arena?
Yeah, you forgot the sinister laugh. Korra tries to thank the chief, but she brushes her off, and soon Korra puts the pieces together. She and Tenzin used to be together, but he left her for his wife. Well, obviously his wife now, otherwise it would have been kind of weirder. So they set up all the security, even though Amon says in secret that it's all according to plan, and in a sinister tone because he's talking to his lackey and you need to keep morale up. The championship arrives, and after much showmanship, it begins, but soon the Wolfbats are brazenly cheating, and the refs let them get away with it. But we have heart, so they manage to play it to a tie, and it becomes a one-on-one between Korra and Smarmy Asshole, and she cleans his clock. So there's a final round, and the Wolfbats don't even pretend they're not cheating, sending water filled with rocks into their heads, which would only be more illegal if they did it without their pants on. While the Wolfbats gloat, the Equalists in the crowd use energy gauntlets to take out Chief Beifong and Tenzin, and electric sticks to take out the Fire Ferrets. And for the grand arrival, Amon and his entourage. The Wolfbats fight them, but without cheating refs, Amon easily takes them down, then takes away their bending. While Korra is being dragged away, she has a flashback, or whatever you would call it, to something involving Team Avatar in Republic City, something similar to what had happened when Amon knocked her out during their equally unfair one-on-one face-off. But in the here and now, Amon gives a speech about how everybody cheered on 3 bullies who cheated their way to victory, symbolic of the way benders dominate non-benders. Even when they have an advantage, they'll still stack the system in their favor. He gives his rallying cry and promise, First Republic City, then the world! They try to make their dashing escape, but Korra, with the help of Chief Beifong, pursues and takes out some of the Equalists, but just as the Chief is about to get inside to grab Amon, Korra falls through the dome, and she's going to plummet to her death. This horror is... Oh, look, SpongeBob must have been Amon's inside man at Nickelodeon. Part 7 opens with a bit of a twist. In place of the previously on Avatar, there was always an old newsreel-style recap with sports and radio narrator guy filling us in on what had happened. But this time it's actually being done by Tarlok at a press conference, who recounts all of the reasons that Chief Beifong, in his opinion, needs to step aside. Well, considering his setup with her last time with, "You'll take personal responsibility?" I figured the twist at this point was going to be that Tarlok was pulling a Palpatine, that he was actually Amon playing both sides in order to gain absolute control over Republic City. Well, actually, turns out he wasn't. He's just an opportunistic weasel, or probably a ferret weasel in the world of Avatar. The romance plot rears its unwanted head again because Bolin and Mako are being thrown out now that the arena is being shut down. And instead of staying at the air temple with Korra, they'll be staying with Asami. I wonder if this plot is because of those Zuko Katara shippers from Avatar. I refuse to use Zutara because I really just despise combining the names of a couple into one name. The only time that is ever permissible if it's something like Mega Ratchet here. When they're becoming a John Carpenter nightmare fusion, then it's okay. But I think that the fan-created love triangle might have been a contributing factor to creating an actual love triangle in Korra, giving the fans something to debate. That's really good for the franchise, keeps people interested, talking about it. And the thing about Asami is that she is completely unlike Korra, but not in a bad way. She's refined and Korra isn't. She's rich and Korra's broke. And in contrast, Korra's strong and Asami seems rather soft. Korra puts on an air of fearlessness, but Asami seems nervous over things. But I think the weak link in all of this is Mako himself. Maybe it's just me, but he doesn't seem in any way an interesting person. And I know that seems an odd way to describe someone with the tragic loss of parents, raised on the streets, but went on to nearly become sports champion his first year. But, look, I'm sorry, he's just boring. They described him as Zuko without the angst. Well, I'm not of the school that you have to be angsty to be interesting. But what is it about him that is interesting then? He wants to take care of his little brother and make it as an athlete. Look, that's great. That's an everyday Joe kind of dream. But what about this everyday Joe stands out from all the other everyday Joes to make us care about him, about his romantic feelings? We're invested in Korra because we have seen her dreams and her nightmares, her struggles and triumphs. As I hope I've made clear, she's an incredibly flawed character, but she's a hero, and she's engaging, so her parts soar, but the romance stuff falls flat. In the most unexpected move, despite the destruction of countless cabbages, the cabbage merchant went on to establish the incredibly successful Cabbage Corp, one of the rivals of Future Corp. Until now, when they find Equalist gear inside and close it down pending a full investigation. But things are going better for Korra. When she comes for that visit to Castle Sato, we discover Asumi is more complicated than first let on. Those seams that I mentioned were actually wrong. She loves to race, and we see from the way it runs that there's kind of an understanding that there's no holding back just because she's the boss's daughter, and she doesn't need it because she kicks ass. Wow. Rich, gorgeous, thrill-seeker, or the living embodiment of bending, and the choice is in the hands of frickin' Commander Makote. Korra overhears Sato talking and gets the impression he framed Cabbage Corp, and given that his wife was killed by benders, everybody who dies in Republic City is killed by a bender. It's an official statute. Well, he has a motive, but he insists it was all just a misunderstanding. He was having a business conversation. An investigation turns up diddly squat. But someone arranges a secret meeting to tell Korra about the hidden facility under the Sato home, and Chief Beifong risks it all because she believes it's true. She uses the Quentin Tarantino Daredevil attack to use Toph's earthbending sight in order to discover that there is indeed a hidden tunnel, much to Asumi's surprise. Inside, the jig is up. Now, it's kind of hard to play dumb when you hang up huge banners of a wanted terrorist. Just a tip for you revolutionaries in training. Anyone whose ego is so frail that you need to keep up their picture all the time probably isn't going to lead you to victory. And it's going to be easier if you're rated to make up a story instead of trying to convince them, oh, no, we have that up there so we could spit on his visage. Ptooey! Sato locks them in, and everything's made of platinum, a metal that's so pure that even Toph couldn't metal bend it. And yeah, the mecha. I suppose it was either that or a tentacle monster at this point, and I think we can all agree they chose right. So the battle begins. I wonder if it's a coincidence that Sato looks like Teddy Roosevelt now, often considered the most badass American president. And he makes quick work of them, getting ready to deliver them all to Amon. But Bolin, Mako, and Asumi arrive, and Sato asks, now that she knows the truth, for Asumi to join him in opposing the benders that took away her mother. But a few volts make it clear she's not Daddy's little girl anymore, and with Tenzin, Lin, and Korra, they get away. Bolin's officers didn't, so she plans to step down.
And it's all my fault. Tarlok's right. I failed as chief. First thing in the morning, I'm handing in my resignation.
No, you can't give up like this.
Which is ironic because the first scene with Korra was her going off about how you can't just run around and dish out vigilante justice. But like her mother, who would repeatedly praise having no rules, Lin isn't going to truck with any rules anymore, not when it comes to this. While they have much smaller roles, Lin and Tenzin are much easier to connect with than Mako, and are more complicated than Bolin. And Asumi is emerging from what seemed like just the competition into a strong character in her own right.
Sets and are closing Cabbage Corp.
No! Not my Cabbage Corp!